name is Haley. I'm here to start the presentation for Nick, Eddie, and Tiara. Our topic is equality. I would like to begin with the definition of discrimination. This is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things. Examples of these categories could include, but is really not limited to, race, gender, or sexual orientation. I'm sure every one of us in this room have been touched by discrimination in some way, whether you be the one bullied or the one with hate. Personally, my best friend is bisexual. Watching her struggle through junior high was very difficult for me. She tried to deny herself and hide who she was from the world, in fear of what others would say or do to her. With some encouragement, she decided to be true to who she was. I'm glad she's truthful today, but she still has to face the discrimination head on. Eddie, do you have a story that would be relative to discrimination?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I want to talk to you guys about my first day in Missouri. I moved up here when I was 9 years old, and my very first day in Missouri, I moved to a town an hour north of here called Humansville. Humansville is not known, or wasn't known at that time, to have any dark people around. Around that whole area, Humansville, Wheatland, Pablo, there's an active KKK chapter. My very first day, went to the playground with one of my cousins, and she had forgot something at home, so she went home, which is 2 blocks down. And while I was there, 2 boys showed up and started picking on me, calling me names, started calling me every racist name in the book. As much as I tried to ignore it and do my own thing, they just kept coming around me until the violence started. They started pushing me. Once I was on the ground, one of them held me down while the other one kicked me repeatedly. And while this was all happening, 2 older men that were probably about 30 yards away was just watching and laughing. The only reason the boys stopped hitting me was because my cousin came back, but she had her dad with her, my uncle. And this is something that I don't ever want anybody to ever have to deal with. When I got home that night, the only thing my uncle and my mom told me to do was learn how to fight. And that's something that I don't think anybody has to ever have to tell their kids they have to do, is learn how to fight, to be able to live in a society where everybody should be treated equally. But that is my story of my first day in Missouri.
Why do we naturally fear those that are different? Even if this discrimination is a natural sort of thing, why do we allow ourselves to hate those for being different? The problem in our world is the lack of equality. Whether these differences be age, gender, race, hair color, eye color, even their sexual orientation, these differences are what make us unique. These differences are interesting. These differences make life enjoyable. We're all human beings. We're all made up of the same things. I think Chief Joseph says it best when he is quoted saying, "The earth is the mother of all people, and everybody deserves equal rights upon it." Throughout this presentation, we will discuss the smallest fraction of where equality is missing, racism and sexual orientation. While both of these topics are very heavily controversial, we think they will be beneficial to discuss today. Do you have more on why racism is still a problem?
All right, let's talk racism. First off, what is racism? According to Webster Dictionary, racism is a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacity, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. I'm going to throw some stats at you. According to CNN's last racial poll, 51% of Americans now express explicit anti-black attitudes compared with 48% in a similar survey in 2008. Also, 52% openly express anti-Hispanic sentiments. We think that just because we've come over milestones in the past with diversity, that things are going to get better. But according to this, the past few years, people are actually even more hateful towards different races. Another one is the 9th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day Report said increasingly elderly Americans do not identify with young Americans who are far more racially and ethnically diverse, leading to reductions in future-oriented public investments. Older people are the ones that live through what, like the sitting on the bus thing with Rosa Parks. They went through black people voting. They went through all that stuff. And a lot of them still have hatred because of it. Nowadays, we have so many kids that are mixed. Like, for example, I have 4 kids with 2 different white women. I mean, my kids are all going to be mixed. Most of my family actually are with white people. In 40 years, things are going to be different. The report notes that almost half of Americans under 18 are minorities, and 80% of these of retirees are white. By 2030, the majority of those under 18 will be people of color, and 2042, non-whites will be the majority of the population. So here in about 40 years, 30, 40 years, white people are actually going to be the minority. And for some, that might scare them, but this is why things need to change. Because as of right now, everything that happens in the public's eye turns into a race war. The big thing that we've seen on the news right now is Michael Brown thing that happened in Ferguson, Missouri. Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown. I'm not here to speculate on what happened. I'm not here to try to push anybody to want to fight about this or anything. But the fact is, an altercation happened between Michael Brown and Darren Wilson. Darren Wilson shot him, and it caused a nationwide panic. A racial war, if you will. And even last night, as the results of Darren Wilson not being indicted on any charges caused even more controversy in Ferguson. I mean, when will this end? When will violence against different colored people not end up in a race situation? That was supposed to be at the end. Solutions. The biggest thing we need to do, especially when it comes to any kind of discrimination, let alone race, is educate our youth and how it affects the future of everybody, how it affects different people. The video that we saw, everybody's the same on the inside. It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter where you came from, we all still have feelings. We all still bleed red on the inside. According to Martin Luther King Jr., his philosophy was, don't hate with hate, hate with love. He was about agape love. He was about brotherly love. He was about getting more white people to join the cause by showing them that there is no fear with black people. He didn't want white people to be afraid of black people. He preached to black people, when you were beat up, whenever you were being racially accused of anything, kill them with kindness, kill them with love. That's how you get people behind you, and that's how you show everybody that you shouldn't be scared. One of the biggest things we need to do, which everybody does it, even in a joking way, stop the racial slurs. Even if you're talking with your best friends, people can hear you, and people will take it literal, and that will start just more fights. So these are just some of the little things you can do to end racism. Now, I know racism isn't the only major issue when it comes to discrimination, and I will let Tiara tell you a little bit more of that.